Elon Musk's views on religion have always been a hot topic as one of the most influential and controversial figures of our time. Despite being labeled as an atheist or agnostic by celebrity gossip sites, the billionaire entrepreneur and CEO of SpaceX has never been shy about sharing his thoughts on the matter. In a stunning confession, Musk once revealed that even when faced with near death during a bout of malaria, he didn't resort to prayer. But in a surprising twist after the successful launch of SpaceX's first manned Falcon rocket mission, Musk shocked the world admitting that he did, in fact, pray. And now it seems that a new chapter is being written on its history. As the majority of Christians in the United States continue to dwindle, the rise of the new Christian raises questions about the future of the religion and the impact this new demographic will have on its development. And if that weren't enough, Elon Musk's response to Christians has caused a stir in the religious community. This could change the way we think about technology and faith. His answer stunned the world as the tech mogul and billionaire revealed a side to himself that nobody expected. Elon, among more groundbreaking notions, said, "I have a deep personal connection to religion, but not in a traditional sense. My beliefs are mysterious, and I have been searching for answers about the existence of God. While some may call it faith, to me, it's more like a quest for the unknown. When asked if I believe in God, all I can say is that I believe in the power of the unknown, and will continue to seek the truth." Growing up in an apartheid South Africa shaped Elon Musk's drive to create a world free from injustice. When asked about the impact of his childhood experiences, he admitted that it played a role in shaping who he is today. Comics also influenced him greatly in his formative years. Investing in companies like SpaceX, Tesla Motors, and Solar City, Elon took a chance on his vision of revolutionizing space travel, combating climate change, and reducing humanity's reliance on fossil fuels. But success did not come easily. Despite initial success with the sale of Zip2, his businesses teetered on the brink of collapse in 2008 during the height of the economic crisis. 3 rocket launches from the SpaceX failed, Tesla's Roadster was plagued by problems, and Elon was facing a divorce and personal turmoil. Despite his doubts, Elon stood firm in his belief that if something is important enough, you should try. The journey has been a roller coaster ride, but Elon's unwavering spirit and determination to make a difference will keep him pushing forward, come what may. As one of our time's most influential tech entrepreneurs, Elon Musk continues to captivate the world with his bold and ambitious ideas. From SpaceX and Tesla to the Hyperloop and AI, his impact on the technological landscape is undeniable. SpaceX and Tesla are 2 of Musk's biggest success stories. In 2021, NASA contracted Tesla for $2.9 billion to use SpaceX's massive rocket Starship to transport astronauts to the moon, solidifying SpaceX's status as NASA's most visible partner in its human spaceflight program, according to the New York Times. On the other hand, Tesla had a record year in 2021, earning $5.5 billion. A 58% increase from 2020's $3 billion. However, the company is currently being investigated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration over concerns about the safety of its autopilot features. The Hyperloop is another one of Musk's grand ideas, a system that uses pods traveling at a speed of 760 miles per hour through an above-ground tube. Despite the challenges of creating such a complex system, multiple businesses are working to bring the Hyperloop to life. But beyond the tangible products and services that Musk has created, the real question on everyone's mind is whether technology will be our downfall or our salvation. Musk himself has warned of the dangers of artificial intelligence and has taken steps to mitigate these risks through his support for nonprofit research group OpenAI. As AI continues to permeate every aspect of our lives, from voice-controlled virtual assistants to food delivery apps, there are growing concerns about the effects of creating machines that are as smart or even smarter than humans. Autonomous weapons and the potential for AI to dehumanize parts of society are just 2 of the very many warnings that have been raised. Despite these risks, the potential benefits of AI are too great to ignore. It has the potential to help us in our personal and professional lives. And if things keep trending in the right direction, it may help eradicate poverty and disease. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and the late Professor Stephen Hawking shared Musk's concerns about AI, making it clear that this is not just a niche issue, but a topic of global importance. But Musk is not just concerned about the dangers of AI, he's also deeply concerned about the impact of climate change. His initiatives in electric cars and renewable energy are not just business ventures, but a way for him to combat global warming and secure a future for humanity. The shift from fossil fuels to clean energy illustrates how Musk believes technology will destroy or save humanity. The future is uncertain, and the suspense builds as we navigate the rapidly changing technological landscape. Will we find ourselves on the brink of disaster, or will we forge a path towards a better future? The answer is not yet clear. But one thing is for certain, Elon Musk will continue to push the boundaries of what is possible, and the world will be watching. The greatest minds of mankind have always sought the truth, and we can draw several parallels with Einstein and Elon Musk. The two giants of science and technology, Einstein and Musk, may seem worlds apart, but they actually share more in common than you might think. Both men have been hailed as visionaries and graced Time magazine's cover multiple times. While Einstein was even close to being named Person of the Century, the recent release of his private letters may have changed people's opinions of him forever. The name Einstein still evokes the image of a genius, and the mere suggestion of being like him is considered a great compliment. The two great minds, Einstein and Elon Musk, share a similar haunting commonality. Both express doubt about God's moral judgment. Einstein, one of the greatest minds of our time, was known for his theories on physics and cosmology, but what many people need to learn is that he also had a strong philosophical side. He once stated, "I believe in Spinoza's God, but not in a deity who cares about people's actions." Elon Musk, on the other hand, is known for his innovations in the tech world and his entrepreneurial spirit. However, like Einstein, he also has a philosophical side. In a recent interview, he stated, "I'm less convinced that there's some super consciousness." His words suggest that he doesn't believe in a higher power that is aware of our actions and ultimately decides our fate in the afterlife. These words from two of the greatest minds of our time make us question the very essence of our existence. Is our fate not in the hands of a higher power? If so, what does that mean for us as human beings? As Einstein suggested, is there truly no room for a creator if the universe is eternal? There are difficult questions that have been asked for centuries and still remain unanswered, Musk said in an interview. "I was asked to speak to a group of bishops in the UK on the topic of cosmology, and I gladly accepted because I knew it would be a lot of fun. I studied the topic for many years and was eager to share my knowledge with a captive audience. As I stood before the room, I could feel the weight of my words. I concluded my speech by saying, I'd like to inquire about a few things. No room for a creator if the universe is eternal, as it possibly is if it had no beginning. The Bible has been interpreted in many different ways over the centuries, but its central message remains the same. It speaks of a higher power guiding and watching over us, even in death. Some believe that the Bible still holds the secrets to the afterlife, and that by delving into its teachings, we can find peace and solace in the face of our own mortality. It's up to each individual to decide what they believe in and what brings meaning to their lives. Whether it's through the teachings of the Bible, the beauty of nature, or simply embracing the idea of an afterlife, finding peace and comfort in the face of death is something that we can all strive for. Einstein's belief in Spinoza's God, the concept of identical twins, and the idea of the afterlife all raise questions about the meaning of life and what happens to us after we leave this world. But by exploring these concepts, we can find solace and peace in the face of our own mortality. So whether you're a religious person, a spiritual seeker, or simply someone who is curious, it's worth investigating the possibility of an afterlife and what it means to you. The founder and CEO of Tesla recently sat down for an interview with the Christian news outlet The Babylon Bee. The website, known for its humorous approach to reporting, usually deals with lighthearted topics, but in this interview, the tone shifted to a serious and thought-provoking discussion about faith and the teachings of Jesus Christ. The interview was conducted by The Babylon Bee CEO Seth Dillon, its editor-in-chief Kyle Mann, and its creative director Ethan Nicole. The trio delved into topics such as politics, spirituality, and personal beliefs. During the conversation, Musk joked that the Bee's editors were going to hell because they were conducting the interview on a Sunday, a day when most people would be attending church. But things took a serious turn when Nicole, the creative director, challenged Musk to make Jesus Christ his Lord and Savior. After a moment of silence, Musk responded, "The thing that Jesus advocated for makes sense to me. His teachings are excellent, and I agree with them." He went on to explain that he believed in the power of forgiveness and selflessness, saying, "Well, if Jesus is saving people, I don't want to stand in his way. The statement was met with excitement from the hosts of the Babylon Bee, who interpreted it as a clear expression of faith from Musk. Although he doesn't consider himself religious, Musk has been open about his admiration for Jesus and the Christian faith in the past. In 2020, he gave a speech in which he claimed to have prayed for the success of one of his space missions. He admitted that he had a lot of unanswered questions about the Christian faith and the events described in the Bible, but he was drawn to the teachings of Jesus. One of the things that attracted Musk to Jesus was his message of turning the other cheek and treating others as you would like to be treated yourself. He believes that this approach is more effective than seeking revenge, and that it can lead to a more peaceful and harmonious society. He also recognizes the importance of selflessness in love, saying, "Be as selfless in your love for your neighbor as you can be for yourself." Although tensions are rising and controversy surrounding Elon Musk's Twitter moderation policies continue to escalate, the spotlight is shining brightly on one of the most polarizing figures in recent history. Kanye West declared his admiration for a very notorious dictator. The Anti-Defamation League, led by Jonathan Greenblatt, has publicly called out Musk, asking if this is someone he still wants to welcome back to the platform. But in a bold and provocative move, Musk issued a cryptic reply. "It's clear that we've lost interest, not that much of a deal." As the world watches on in disbelief, West appeared on InfoWars alongside young white supremacist Nick Fuentes, and without removing his mask, he launched into a hateful rant, praising the well-known German regime. "I can appreciate some of the dictator's positive qualities. Even he has something to contribute to society," West proclaimed, sparking outrage and disgust among the public, and rightfully so. As the situation becomes more complex and the lines between morality and religion blur, one thing is clear: the consequences of these actions will be profound. The question remains, how can we balance protecting freedom of expression and limiting harmful content? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, I'm not very religious, but I prayed for this one.
I had this existential crisis when I was a kid, and tried to figure out what's it all about, and none of the books I read seemed to actually have a good answer. So I read all the religious texts, and I read a bunch of philosophy books, and they're all quite depressing. We don't really know what the meaning of life is. Trying to figure out the meaning of life, and what does it all mean? Because it's sort of seeming quite meaningless.
Do you have a spiritual life?
Well, it sort of depends on what spiritual means. I was trying to figure out what's the meaning of life, and there didn't seem to be any good answer.
But do you believe in a god or a higher power?
Well, something created the universe. How do molecules have consciousness and feelings? So where along that path from a bunch of hydrogen molecules to humans, where did consciousness start? Why does this illusion exist?
Do you believe in God?
I believe there's some explanation for this universe, which you might call God.
So when you say, do you believe in God, which God? Is it Zeus? Is it Poseidon? Is it the Jewish God? Is it the Christian God?
Well, I think currently the thing to do is to expand humanity and consciousness to the point where we're able to answer that question. I don't think we can answer that question yet, or we can't answer what's the meaning of life well yet.
The problem with consciousness is self-evident. You know that you're conscious, but you can't prove that you're conscious. It's just something that's self-evident to you. If you want to talk about proof, you're talking about logical kind of breakdown of an argument and evidence for it, but you're talking about your subjective experience proving there is God. I would say that's actually the ultimate proof that there is God, but that would just be a declarative statement, similar to consciousness being a self-evident experience.
In my studies of the universe, I value evidence, and I don't see evidence for any kind of active intelligence or power over anything.
If categories dissolve, especially fundamental ones, the culture is dissolving because the culture is a structure of category. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Right. So, in fact, culture is a structure of category that we all share. So we see things the same way. Well, that's why we can talk. I mean, not exactly the same way, because then we'd have nothing to talk about. But roughly speaking, we have a bedrock of agreement. That's the Bible, by the way.
It's also possible, though, that we're in a simulation.
That we're in a simulation like the Matrix?
Yeah. Well, different from the Matrix, but a simulation of sorts, yeah.
Well, this whole world could be a dream.
It could be a dream, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it could be a simulation. I mean, have you ever played like these, like the advanced video games and how realistic they were getting?
I know. It is like a whole nother life.
Right.
Yeah. With the goggles and everything, 3D and everything.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
It could be that that's what we know to be Earth. Maybe we're some other creature's avatar. Reveal themselves through the physics. They're creators of this existence. And it's incumbent upon us to try to understand more about this wondrous creation. There may not be a master plan in the sense so there's maybe an interesting answer to the question of determinism versus free will is that if we are in a simulation, the reason that these higher beings would hold a simulation is to see what happens. They don't know what happens. Otherwise they wouldn't hold the simulation. So when humans create a simulation, so at SpaceX and Tesla, we create simulations all the time, especially for the rocket. You have to run a lot of simulations to understand what's going to happen, because you can't really test the rocket until it goes to space, and you want it to work. So you have to simulate subsonic, transonic, supersonic, hypersonic ascent, and then coming back, super high heating, and orbital dynamics. All this is going to be simulated because you don't get very many kicks at the can. But we run the simulations to see what happens. Not if we knew what happens, we wouldn't run the simulation. So if whoever created this existence, they're running it because they don't know what's going to happen, not because they do. I'm less convinced that there's, say, some super consciousness watching over our every movement and kind of evaluating it against some criteria, and deciding whether we're going to go to one place or another when we die. I think that's unlikely. I mean, and it does beg the question: if there is some super consciousness, where did the super consciousness come from? The most likely explanation is that complexity evolved from simplicity. That the simple elements over time combined to become more complex and arrived at what we are.
Our universe had a genesis. Our universe had a Big Bang. There was an explosion, but these explosions take place all the time. Universes keep budding off other universes. And what is the universe expanding into? Expanding into another bigger arena, the arena of 11-dimensional hyperspace. Therefore, our bubble is expanding in nirvana. And so here we have a beautiful melding of Buddhism with the Presbyterian religion.
Now, in many ways, the first book was the Bible. I mean, literally, because at one point there was only one book. Like, as far as our Western culture is concerned, there was one book. And for a while, literally, there was only one book. And that book was the Bible. And then before it was the Bible, it was it was scrolls, and it was writings on papyrus. But we were starting to aggregate written text together. And it went through all sorts of technological transformations, and then it became books that everybody could buy, the book everybody could buy. And the first one of those was the Bible. And then it became all sorts of books that everybody could buy. But all those books, in some sense, emerged out of that underlying book. And that book itself, the Bible isn't a book, it's a library. It's a collection of books.
Well, we can say step by step, based on the archaeological evidence, the fossil record, and what we know of physics, how we came to be at this point. But that doesn't explain how the universe came to exist in the first place. Like, how do molecules have consciousness and feelings? The chain of events from a physics standpoint, from the beginning of the universe to now, are quite well understood. But somehow we went from a bunch of hydrogen gas to complex molecules, and then an assemblage of complex molecules like ourselves that can feel and talk and think. I mean, just if you leave hydrogen out long enough, it starts talking to itself, basically. That's what happened here. So where along that path from a bunch of hydrogen molecules to humans, where did consciousness start?
Stephen Hawking, in his latest books, he can prove the non-existence of God because there was no time for God to create the universe at the instant of the Big Bang. He says time started with the Big Bang, therefore there was no time for God to create a universe, i.e. there's no God. I think there's a flaw in that argument because Einstein's theory of gravity breaks down at the instant of the Big Bang. That's why he spent 30 years of his life chasing after a higher theory. And what does string theory say? Well, Einstein says the universe is a bubble. We live on the skin of the bubble, and the bubble's expanding. That's called the Big Bang theory. String theory says there are other bubbles out there. There's a bubble bath of universes, and universes are being formed all the time. Big bangs are happening even as we speak. So we have this bubble bath of universes. Right. So there was something before Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1. There was something before the Big Bang. And we're going to detect gravity waves from the instant of creation with gravity wave detectors in outer space one day. We should find evidence, we should find baby pictures of the instant of the Big Bang, and maybe we'll find evidence of an umbilical cord.
But because those texts influenced more other texts, and then you think about that as a hierarchy, okay, with the Bible at its base, which is certainly the case. Now imagine that's the entire corpus of linguistic production, all things considered. Now how do you understand that? And so it isn't that the Bible is true. It's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth.
I believe in a God who holds the heavens and the earth in existence. I believe that on the basis of rational evidence. And as we look at the rise of science in the 16th and 17th centuries, Alfred North Whitehead and many others commented that men became scientific because they expected law in nature, and they expected law in nature because they believed in a lawgiver. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not ashamed of being both a scientist and a Christian, because arguably Christianity gave me my subject. What I am amazed at is that serious thinkers today continue to ask us to choose between God and science. That's like asking people to choose between Henry Ford and engineering as an explanation of the motor car.
So good.
When Newton discovered his law of gravity, he didn't say, I've got a law, I don't need God. No, he wrote the Principia Mathematica, arguably the greatest work in the whole history of science. Because he saw that God is not the same kind of explanation as a scientific explanation. God doesn't compete. Agency does not compete with mechanism and law. Why is there something rather than nothing? Alan Sandage, the brilliant cosmologist who became a Christian in his 50s, said God is the answer to that question. But people are now so desperate to show that the universe created itself from nothing, which seems to me to be an immediate oxymoron. If I say X created Y, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of Y. If I say X created X, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of X, which simply shows that nonsense remains nonsense even if high-powered scientists utter it. It is absurd to complain that it is unthinkable for an unthinkable God to make everything out of nothing, and then to pretend that it is more thinkable that nothing should turn itself into everything.
The experience of having the constant flux of changing sense perceptions left me with a sense that there was nothing solid to hold on to in reality, and so this is not a great, this is not the argument for the existence of God that I would repose, in which I would repose great trust. I'm not trying to persuade anyone by this. I'm just telling what my experience was at this point. I later found what I think are very, very persuasive arguments, both philosophically and scientifically. The thing that really convinced me as a university student studying philosophy was an argument known as the argument from epistemological necessity.
Maybe everything's conscious. And we're a pattern of molecules, like the actual atoms in our body change. I mean, some cells stick around for a long time, but most of the cells in your body are regenerated. So, like I think your skin regenerates every 7 years or something like that. You're not even the same molecules. From one year to the next, the molecules in your body have changed. It's the pattern that stays relatively consistent. The pattern of molecules. So we're a pattern of molecules that can talk and think and feel. Anyway, this is why I think we should expand. We should have more kids and grow and expand consciousness and and probably have digital consciousness too. I mean, there are some sort of fundamental questions of like, what is thought? What is emotion?
Yeah.
Is it really just one atom bumping into another atom? It feels like something more than that. So I think we're probably missing some really big things. Like some really big things. Well, some people would call it like a soul. In religion, it would be a soul. Like you feel like you're you, right? I mean, you don't feel like you're just a collection of atoms. But on what dimension does thought exist? What dimension do emotions exist? We feel them very strongly. I suspect there's more to it than atoms bumping into atoms. What is consciousness? Like when you put the atoms in a particular shape, why are they able to form thoughts and take actions and have feelings? Either perhaps everything's conscious or nothing is conscious. One of the two. But we're composed of atoms, and those atoms are composed of quarks and leptons. And those quarks and leptons have been around since the beginning of the universe. I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated. There's great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with those teachings. And things like turn the other cheek are very important, because as opposed to an eye for an eye. An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. Forgiveness, is important, and treating people as you would wish to be treated. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Very important.